curfew will be from 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. This means that, except for emergencies, no person may be outside their place of residence between these times. This does not apply to essential workers who are permitted to work during these hours. Secondly, the sale of alcohol from retail outlets will only be permitted between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. from Monday to Thursday. Thirdly, alcohol consumption in public spaces such as the beautiful beaches of the area and parks is strictly forbidden. This is necessary to prevent large social gatherings that often take place in those spaces. Fourthly, gatherings, including religious gatherings, may not be attended by more than 100 people for indoor events and 250 for outdoor events. At all times, the total number of people in a venue may not exceed more than 50% of the capacity of the venue, that is the carrying capacity of the venue. And finally, all post-funeral gatherings that are now regarded as after-tears parties are prohibited. These additional measures are necessary to contain the resurgence that we are experiencing right now in Nelson Mandela Bay, to prevent outbreaks resulting from social gatherings, and to protect the capacity of our healthcare system to provide care for those who need it. Now, in determining these restrictions, we have sought to take those steps which are absolutely necessary to save lives while limiting disruptions to the economy. Following extensive consultations with traditional leaders, we have agreed that the summer initiation season in the Eastern Cape may go ahead. This is because traditional leaders in the Eastern Cape have submitted a risk-adjusted plan that has been approved by the Departments of Health and Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. This plan includes strict adherence to health protocols, including screening of initiates, the provision of personal protective equipment, and the provision of water for hygiene and to prevent dehydration. However, due to the high rates of infection in the metro, no initiation schools will be allowed in Nelson Mandela Bay. The measures that are being taken in relation to Nelson Mandela Bay are not meant to punish the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay. They are not intended to increase the hardship that is already being experienced by our citizens. These measures are needed to contain the spread of the virus and to save lives. In the coming days, the Minister of Health, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, will be visiting the Sarah Baartman district and the Garden Route to assess the situation and to engage with various stakeholders in the province. Based on this assessment and the development of the disease in these areas, the National Coronavirus Command Council will determine the appropriate course of action, and if any, that will be announced in due course. To ensure that we maintain the current prevention measures, the national state of disaster will be extended to the 15th of January 2021 in line with the Disaster Management Act. All existing level 1 restrictions remain in force and in place throughout the country. We have all the tools that we need to prevent a resurgence in the rest of the country. We can only do this if every one of us play their part. We can only prevent a second wave if all of us respect the rules, the measures, and the protocols that have been put in place for the protection of everyone. For the safety of all of us, those who break the rules must face consequences. We have instructed law enforcement officials to ensure compliance with the law by owners, by controllers, managers of workplaces, shops, institutions, and buildings to ensure social distancing and wearing of masks and all the other hygiene protocols. Taxi operators are also required to ensure that all their passengers in their vehicles wear masks. In addition, each one of us will be required to comply with the curfew times. Together with the measures to contain a resurgence in hotspot areas, the national effort continues to strengthen public health interventions such as community screening, increased testing, contact tracing, and communication on behavioral change. As we have said in the past, the only viable defense we will have against COVID-19 will be the vaccine. There are now many initiatives around the world to speed up the development of a vaccine. We continue to collaborate with our partners in the international community to ensure that all countries have access to an effective and affordable vaccine so that no one is left behind. We are participating in the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Global Vaccine Access Facility, known as the COVAX facility, which aims to pool resources and share vaccine development risk and thus ensure equitable access to vaccines when they become available. We are encouraged that the Solidarity Fund that we formed at the beginning of the surge in infections will be making the initial contribution of 327 million rand towards this vaccine procurement on behalf of our country. We are also encouraged by the promising results from 3 trials of candidate vaccines, which have shown efficacy levels of between 70 and 95%. We await confirmation from medicine regulators that these vaccines are safe, that they are effective, and that they will be suitable for the needs of our people. In South Africa, our own Health Products Regulatory Authority, SAPRA, will review the approval applications when received from the developers of vaccines and authorize their use. Let us remember that until a vaccine is developed and distributed, we remain our own best protection against COVID-19. It is through our everyday actions that we will keep ourselves and others safe. And I need to keep on repeating this message, that it is through wearing a mask in public at all times that we will be able to keep ourselves safe. It is also by observing social distancing and avoid large gatherings and indoor spaces where ventilation is poor. It is through regularly washing or sanitizing our hands. I know we may get bored with the repetition of the same message, but I'd like this message to sink. I was recently most impressed that a 4-year-old little girl was repeating exactly the same message and telling adults what the president has been saying. So the message does need to be repeated so that it sinks into our subconsciouses. We can also protect ourselves by downloading the COVID Alert mobile app that can notify us if we are exposed to the virus and thereby help to break the chain of transmission. It is extremely encouraging that the COVID Alert SA app has now been downloaded by more than 1 million South Africans. If you have not yet downloaded it, you are one of those who are being left behind. If there is anything this pandemic has taught us, it is the danger of becoming complacent and relaxing. Across the world, countries with declining infections have eased restrictions only to experience a second and even a more severe wave, forcing them to reimpose restrictions on movement, on gatherings, and on economic activity. If there ever was a time for caution, this is the time. The festive season is approaching. Schools and places of higher learning have closed for the summer holidays. Many of us are winding down at work and will soon be at home with our families. Many of us are preparing to travel to reunite with friends and family. Traveling carries great risks, which we can reduce by avoiding unnecessary travel. We can also reduce infection risk by wearing a mask in public transport, keeping the vehicle windows open, and maintaining prevention measures on arrival. The summer season is traditionally a time for social gatherings where we attend festivals and fun events and socialize at weddings, religious gatherings, and in both public and private spaces. These social gatherings, fellow South Africans, can be super spreader events that carry a huge risk of transmission of the virus. This is being experienced by many countries across the world. Each of us needs to ensure we take precautions to avoid spreading the virus to our families, especially our elders. We should keep gatherings small. We should have them outside or in well-ventilated venues. We should ensure social distancing and continue wearing our masks as much as possible. We must remember that as much as we want to relax, this virus does not relax. And this virus does not take a holiday. This 2020 has been a difficult year for us as a nation and as a country. It has severely tested our resolve and demanded great sacrifices of each and every one of us. But even as the holidays approach, we cannot let our guard down. Unless we take personal responsibility for our health and the health of others, more people are going to become infected. More people are going to die. Over the last 8 months, many people have lost parents, siblings, spouses, friends, and colleagues to COVID-19. As a nation, we have lost many brave frontline workers who are caring for those in hospitals and our clinics. We've lost essential service workers who helped to keep this country running, moving, and operating during the lockdown period. We've lost teachers who went to school every day to support our children and to ensure our matriculants were able to write their final exams. We owe it to all those whose lives have been so tragically cut short by this deadly virus, not to let the same suffering and pain be visited on even more families and more of our people. We owe it to our own friends and relatives and those around us. We owe it to our country, because a resurgence of the virus would be a severe blow and a setback to our emerging economic recovery, to our efforts to restore and create jobs, and to our provision of services to our people. Most of all, we owe it to ourselves and each other, because this affects all of us. Tonight, we stand in solidarity with the people of Nelson Mandela Bay Metro as they work to contain this outbreak. I have the utmost confidence that Premier Oscar Mabuyane and the leadership of the Eastern Cape is doing and will do all that is necessary to bring the rate of infection down once again. I call on each and every one of you to remember those whose lives have been lost and the precious lives we still have to save. Over the past 8 months, we succeeded in bringing the virus under control by acting together and working hand in hand. We fought this pandemic with everything that we had. Through our combined efforts, we saved many thousands of lives, which would otherwise have been needlessly lost. Now, as the number of infections begins to rise again, we cannot, we must not sacrifice the gains that we have made. We cannot return to the darker days of June and July. You remember? When transmission of the virus was widespread and scary, and the lives of our families and friends were at risk. Just as we know that a second wave is possible, we know too that it can be avoided. So tonight, I'm asking you to recommit yourself to this fight. We're in a fight of our lives. We can still prevent the virus from spreading any further if we take the appropriate steps now. Just as we did in the early days of the pandemic, let us stand together and let us work together. We will get through this period of difficulty as we did the ones before. May God continue to bless our beautiful country, South Africa, and protect all her people. I thank you.
There you have it, viewers and listeners that are watching on Atirare 263 and JCTV Zimbabwe. That was the President of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, giving us an address on the issue that is happening right now, that the numbers are increasing, and that is worrying. On his, I'm just gonna, run down some of the things that he mentioned when he started this broadcast. The first thing that he said was, he was saying that thank you to every South African who observed the days of mourning that was in November. 5 days of mourning, the frontline workers who put their life on the line for COVID-19, and some of them they've died during the process. I know personally of a lady who was staying in our street, who was actually a nurse at Tembisa Hospital, who succumbed to the virus. And those are the people that the president was talking about. So the national state of disaster has been increased. It was initiated in March, so it has been increased. It has been extended rather to January. So the national state of disaster has been extended to January, and also the president has also stated that compliance is going to be a key issue. So if anyone is going to be found not complying with the rules, and regulations that have been put in place, especially the issue of wearing of masks in public places. They are going to face the music, the security forces or the police are going to be monitoring that. So that is another thing. And then the issue of the Nelson Mandela Bay has been placed under lockdown, which is starting from tonight. And the measures, those are the things that he was mentioning. You can also go and check out that on the government website, that everything has been mentioned, have been pointed out by the president. And wearing of masks in taxis is going to be compulsory. So you are not going to be found, if you are going to be found not wearing masks, it's going to be a fine to the taxi driver, or what we call combis in our country, in Zimbabwe. And then the last thing that the president also mentioned was that the only way for people, for the only hope for the country, or the only hope for the world, is the vaccine. And he mentioned that a number of countries have been testing vaccines. We hear that in UK they've been testing vaccine. We hear that in Russia they've been testing vaccine, and some of the countries have actually had breakthrough with the vaccine. So these are the things that has been mentioned. So anyway, in a nutshell, I just thought, let me just give it to you, what is happening, because I know many Zimbabweans are interested in what the president of South Africa say. Whether you're in South Africa or in Zimbabwe, you would want to know what is happening. So that's all that I wanted to say. Wherever you're watching us from in Africa, and wherever you're watching us from in the world, this is the address by the president of South Africa, who is our neighbor in Zimbabwe. But thank you so much for watching. Please tell us what you think on the comment section of this address, and we would really love to hear from you about this address. Many people were expecting the West. Many people were expecting that we are going to move to probably to level 2 or to level 3. But the emphasis that the president gave was that people are supposed to observe social distancing, and he actually emphasized the issue that people are supposed to wear masks. People are supposed to not live as though COVID-19 is no longer with us. But thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to JCTV Zimbabwe, follow Hatrana 263, and also subscribe to JCTV Zimbabwe on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and these are our numbers, these are our contact details, and you can also visit our website. We're going to publish this address on the website very, very, very soon. So please just stay tuned to all these platforms, and you will be able to be informed on what is happening. But good night to everyone that has been watching. I really appreciate you coming to listen to the address of the President of South Africa. Till we meet again next time, this is your boy once again reminding you that rise up, Africa. The world is waiting for you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good night for now.